Shalom, first and foremost, all praise and glories unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Chachodash. Double honor to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone, and greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, elect. Shalom unto you. Your brother Shaquat with video. This on the left is a dream I had maybe, well, there's a date on there, on the 6th of October. And the phrase that kept coming up was cities and houses will be overwhelmed. And remembering that dream tied me back into the dream that I had last night, which I did a longer video and I'll premiere it later, or but well, I gotta upload it just a long time, so over an hour. But this will be a shorter, condensed version of something that I may have missed, and then I remembered this dream, and I went back and because I like to paint my dreams sometimes to help me remember everything. Now, to explain this, I'll even do this real quick. To explain this, what's going on in this dream or in this picture here, once you watch the other video, it'll make sense. So I'll speed through the other video. It was like an EMP or something hit, but it wasn't quite an EMP because there was still light in the city. Okay, it was still power in the city, and there were still lights. It was, but it was very scarce where the light was. Like in this dream here, the street lights were still on. And that was true also in the dream that I had last night. But it just, and it's crazy because the dream I had last night was like before and during when the sun was going down. This dream is like nights after, or even after it was fully dark outside. And there were just people walking around. I mean, there's a lot of Jake just walking around, all over. And being on the outskirts of town, that's what this is kind of set up when I begin to understand it. The outskirts of town were still had power, and the city had lots of power, but the city was more controlled than anything. Okay, the city there was a lot of control in the city as far as martial law, where you could move and couldn't move. All right, but it was an overall darkness, wherever the lights were not. And see, this on the right and the back is like a field, a big field, which to me, when I thought it through, and then seeing this video, the dream, and after the dream I had, it tied me into that field pretty much being representing where there was no light at. And not an analogy of no light of understanding, but there was just pockets throughout the city where there was nothing, where you just couldn't see. There was just no light. You literally had no light at nighttime. But the city had light, so it was like making you funnel into the city. But certain neighborhoods, and in this dream here, back in October, the city had the street that I lived on. Behind the city was it was like the only light was back here in the front of the houses. There were none. So this was like the backyard, which I don't even had nothing to do with where I lived at when I had the dream, or even where I live at now. But this was just it. And what I don't have on here is a whole chain link fence or whatever. That was on that corner back there. Okay, it's like a street and a field. Then you can see the major parts of the city that were controlled. And then there was just people walking around, and nobody had good intentions. It's like they were looking around, looking for houses that had light, looking for people that were just ready to be victims. There's people climbing on garages and walking around. It was just a chaotic scene, going on. And like this character in the far right here, he was looking in my house, and I was looking out the window with the blinds and everything. And he was looking at my house, and it was like he could see me, but he's like he had a demon on him. But he could see in the house, and he like wanted to go in there, but he couldn't. And it was like, man, it was crazy. I kept thinking in that dream, man, what's it gonna be like when you have to go outside? Because eventually you can't stay in the house forever. You're gonna need food or whatever. So you're going to have to go outside at some point, which we understand. If you're in the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai, you're the Lord's going to take care of us. He's going to somehow provide us with food, somehow provide us with everything that we need. Okay, and that's where our faith stands on. Okay, the elect will stand on that. Okay, but this just tied me into the other video, so I'm using this. I forgot I painted this until this morning. So let me get into where this is going real quick. We're in the time of the Passover. Passover is a week from today, or a week from last night, if you will. All right, so let's see. All right, so this article was out, it was news the other day, but they're still dropping new information on this. Okay, and I've been meaning to do a video on it, and now after this, not just the spirit was just not on me to do it. And I was like, this is an easy one, but it was not on me to do it. Now it brought gravity after the dream. It brought gravity to, to this dream, and it ties into the one I just had last night, which was as the sun was going down, and power was out in all the homes, because there was no, even in that other dream, there was no power in the houses. So people were walking around looking in the houses to see who had power, to see who had life and food and whatever else in there. All right, well, this is what, I don't know if it's the president or prime minister, whatever they call themselves in Canada. And this is just showing you the headlines of it. This was a minute ago. It says, does Canada supply electricity to U.S.? What to know after lawmakers' threat of surcharge shut off? Yeah, and I had a video. Couldn't find it. Well, I didn't dig deep for it. I just looked this up, where he was saying, well, if they want to put tariffs on us, we'll cut power to America. We know Donald Trump is making enemies, and their regime is making enemies of allies across the world. Okay, particularly Canada being the most northern ally, direct ally, and Mexico below. It says, will Canada cut off electricity to the U.S. over Donald Trump's tariffs? List of cities that could be impacted, right? And this is pretty much what it's talking about. Canada to cut off electricity to the United States. Need to feel the pain. Okay, it's a few days ago. Could Canada cut off electricity to Connecticut in a tariff war with the U.S.? How high might prices go? Okay, and this HuffPost is a different Newsweek, CT Insider, Economic Times. HuffPost says Canadian Premier threatens to cut off electricity exports to U.S. Okay, BBC says Ontario's Doug Ford says he could cut electricity to the U.S. over tariffs. Okay, Canadian leader, Daily Beast, the Canadian leader threatens to cut off power to U.S. Okay, and it's showing you who and what they're talking about, so on and so forth. Okay, well, I have videos, all the beast shall hate the whore, and all these allies, and all of that came to mind when I thought of it. But when I had this dream, it played a more significance in my mind, because these are the plagues of Egypt. Okay, if they cut power to these cities, and that's when this dream came up, and this was, the older dream that I had a few months back, versus the dream I just had last night, or this morning even, to put this out there. And this is something I missed when I did the other video. So I'm going to put this, and this one may actually go up first because it'd be a little easier to go up. So as I jump down to the plague, Exodus chapter 10, verse 20, it says, but the Lord Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go, which we know Esau's not going to let us go either. We're under the captivity of Esau. And I'll grab a couple scriptures that tie you into this. Matter of fact, I'll just do it now, get it out the way, then I'll read more into it. Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. I'll just read verse 8. To break it down, verse 7, it says, "And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit." And what's the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit? The bottomless pit is Europe. America ascended out of Europe. Okay, same as the seventh that the eighth came out of the seventh. Okay, that seventh was one of the heads, and America spawned off of Europe. And so that shows you it's tying this into this place. Out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. Okay, it says, and this is talking about Jake, it says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city." All right, and we're spiritually dead, going back to Ezekiel the 37th chapter. All right, which is the dry bones, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, which we know these two places have all the monikers of America. Sodom and Gomorrah and all their freakism and all the decadence and the different issues that was going on over there, as well as Egypt, all the slavery and all the things that the relics and the spiritual identity of Egypt. Okay, it's on the money. Egypt is literally on the dollar bill. The pyramids on the dollar bill, right? So where our Lord was crucified. Okay. Yeah, I'll read it anyway. "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, 350 years, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves." It's like the valley of the dry bones, ties right into that. Because we're not physically dead, we're spiritually dead. But we're starting to awaken as you read further into that Ezekiel 37. Now, going back to Exodus 10, because we're in the time of the Passover, and it makes you think of all the things that are coming. Okay? And this led up to the great Passover. Now, let me get there. All right, that actual Passover, there was plagues that hit Egypt, ancient Egypt, that hit ancient Egypt leading up to the Passover. Okay, and when you read, you'll understand that these plagues, particularly 10 plagues, but there were great plagues that continued to hit ancient Egypt. And one of the plagues was a plague of darkness. And this was a dream about darkness. Now, this is watercolor, so you don't really use black. It's hard to do nighttime, but you can tell that this is a night scene because the street lamp is there. And this was just a quick jot down of what was going on. I tried to keep the street lamp there so you could see that there was some light. And in the major city, there was some light, but the rest was pretty much dark. But I had to show the difference of what was in light and what wasn't. The street has to be there, the side, And so this is how you show it. Okay, but it doesn't change the fact of what was going on in the dream. The dream was it was dark, except in certain lit areas, and it was you didn't know what people's intentions were. It was real tough time. Okay, now when you go back into the plague of Egypt, because this is Egypt again. Okay, when you go to Deuteronomy 28 place, it's matter of fact, I'll get it right quick. Deuteronomy 28:68, and vocab and people like that, man, that Bible naysayers, that's, when I say Bible naysayers, they don't like that the Hebrew Israelites use this scripture to help prove on just one simple level. There's many other levels, but one simple level that we are the children of Israel. Okay, with this scripture here. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships," which we know ancient Egypt. We went to the ancient Egypt that I'm reading out of Exodus, the 10th chapter, and we walked into there as a family, okay? And then we grew into a nation in there, okay? Well, we're going into Egypt again with ships, okay? And we walked out of Egypt on foot, okay? So we come into this Egypt with ships, and this is the one that we came over in the slave ships, just to say it simply, okay? "By the way whereof I spake unto thee," and we know the Northern Kingdom, also the Negro, the Hispanics, the Central South Americans, the West Indians, all of us came over, whether on slave ships or on ships that came over, that became the North, Central, and South Americans, when they were coming out of the Assyrian captivity. That's 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, talking about the 10 tribes that came over. Okay? Anyway, so it says, and the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, the land of Israel. Okay, that won't be known as our homeland. And there you should be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall redeem you, shall buy you back, until Yahweh buys us back with his blood. Okay? And that's just to give a quick understanding of that. But this is Egypt again, right? So going back, all right, we have to make the correlation that we're going to be rescued out of Egypt again. There's going to be an exodus out of Egypt again. But this exodus starts off spiritual, okay, which you first exodus out of this place with Micah, the 2nd chapter, the 10th verse. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. It would pollute you even with a sword of destruction. Okay, so and then eventually it says in Revelation, the 18th chapter, it says, I started the quote, but let me grab it. Yeah, that's it, because I don't start it there. It says, Revelation 18, verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her. And this is the physical part that becomes. The spiritual part was in Micah, arise and depart, for this is not your rest. It will pollute you even with a sword of destruction. That's the physical and spiritual part. The mental and the spiritual part you depart from out of this place, which the Israelites are having our people to mentally disconnect from this place. Okay, because when all these plagues hit, if you're tied to it, it's gonna pull you under, man. It's gonna pull you into this place and be destroyed. But the physical exodus happens here in Egypt again, or New Egypt, or Sodom in Egypt, right? It says, come out of her, my people, be ye not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. And that's talking about literally being beamed up into the chariots, the spaceship, so to speak, escaping the judgment of fire given unto this place, America. Okay, Egypt again. Now, when you go back to Exodus, this is why this ties in, because the darkness is one of the plagues. Okay, which I had the dream last night, or this morning, I should say, and I had a dream about it a few months ago. Okay, so I'll start here at 21, Exodus 10 and 21. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, and that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. Okay. Now, and this is where I'm gonna go to it also. Okay. It says 22, and Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. Okay. They saw not one another. That's how dark it was. And when you go into this dream back in October, like this guy here, I got him dressed this way, but it's hard to show where he was at, showing the depth. But he was just like, you can barely see the highlights of him off of the street light. Okay, barely see the highlights of him moving around. There's a lot more people that you just couldn't really even see that they were there, but you can kind of see figures against the backdrops of light, all in that field and just barely moving around under the street light, on houses and on roofs and whatnot. You can kind of see people around. Like you can see there was a lot of people moving around, looking to break into houses, ransacking, going through people's trash, trying to break into garages. All kind of chaos was happening then. And the dream I had this morning was similar, but it was a different time of earlier in the day where there was, the day was like the day that the power first went out, like the first day. It's like we knew that it was going out, so people was like, damn, the power's out, so we're just going to go ahead and grill up, and we're going to just, we can see with the car lights and all of this, and we'll just go ahead and just chill and just make it into something until they turn the power back on, making light of the situation, because there was still a little bit of power on, like it even had in this video. Majority, and there were no houses that had power in this video, in this dream, but there were like street lights and stuff on. Now in the dream I had this morning, it was very minute, like enough it would take you probably all day to charge your cell phone, like all day to charge your cell phone, And then if everybody was using, you couldn't charge up all the cell phones at once all day. It wasn't that much power. And if you did that, you couldn't run the kitchen light, and there wasn't even a major. It was like even the lights in the house were dim. In the dream, there was even, I particularly went to a brother's bathroom, and he had candles in there, and it was a really dim light in there, but it was a candle in there, so you could see what you're doing because there were no windows in the bathroom, and you were hoping that there was a street light near the bathroom window or by any windows that can let some light into the house, and that's what was going on. Okay, and it says, they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. Meaning they were too scared to move around. Now, you go back to ancient Egypt, there were no street lights. There were no artificial light. The sun was the light. Fire made the light. So you had candles and certain things like that. And in the dream I had this morning, Jake was grilling and trying to do bonfires, and they had their vehicle lights shining on certain things so they can see. In the park, the park lights were on, like the street lights in the park behind the houses were on, but that don't, who knows how long that would last. But that was it, and it made me think of that article, with Canada possibly cutting off the power. And even before I thought of that, and the other one, it felt like an EMP had hit, but there still was a little bit of power, and I didn't understand. It's my job not to fully understand, but to deliver the effects, basically, of what would happen if all the power went out. Okay, it says they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place. Everybody just bunkered in, or whatever they call it. It says, and all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Now the believers, we're gonna have resources. We're gonna have it. We're not, and the light that we're gonna have is more so gonna be the light of understanding. Okay, of what's going on. It may not be light in our houses, but we'll have the light of understanding. And so, those that believe, in which the 2/3 are still not going to have light. And that's what both these dreams pretty much had in them, that people didn't have anything. And Jake didn't have any understanding. And Jake didn't have any, the ability to foresee what was coming. They were starting to bug out. Okay? Tripping because they're not used to this situation. They were acting just like the Egyptians. Okay, and so, but those that believed, we were comforted because we knew we were that much closer. Even though it was an uncomfortable situation, we were that much closer to the return of our Lord and getting up out of here with salvation. All right. So let me go to Wisdom of Solomon. I'm gonna start at the 16th chapter. Okay. I should have probably highlighted the ones to keep it concise, but I'm gonna just read a little bit because this is going into ancient Egypt, right? And this goes into where we're at even today. Wisdom of Solomon 16. Therefore, by the like where they punish worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented. Okay, and there, like in the dream I had this morning, there was dogs loose and all of that. It was like the brother had a dog that was in his yard, and he was kind of hiding out until I went to hop the fence. And then his dog popped up like, hey, get the fuck out of here, like protecting the whole grounds of his house. But there are a lot of animals like just wandering around the streets, pit bulls and stuff like that, right? It wasn't as much like wild tigers or bears or nothing, but there were a lot of dogs in Jake's neighborhood just getting loose, big dogs, right? Pit bulls and Rottweilers and so on, and Dobermans and canines, what's them other ones called? German Shepherds and whatnot, right? It says, instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with thine own people, thou preparest for them meat of a strange taste, even quails, to stir up their appetite, to the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of the beast send among them loathe even that which they must needs desire, but these, suffering penury for a short space, might be made partakers of a strange taste. Okay, for it was requisite that upon them exercising tyranny should come, I got to get this word, penury. Penury, right? Extreme poverty, destitution. Okay? Which is what I figured, but just so we can understand it. Penniless, impoverished, scarcity, need. We know Jacob's trouble is going to send our people into that, man. Hardship, beggary, destitution, want, okay, bankruptcy, okay, straightened circumstances, the straight gate, extreme/dire poverty, okay. So I'm gonna read it in the GNT. Oh man, always something. GNT says, and so it was appropriate that these people were punished by such creatures, tormented by swarms of them. But you, O Lord, did not punish your people in this way. Instead, you showed them kindness. You sent them quails to eat, a rare, delicious food to satisfy their hunger, right? And the elect, some of the hopeful elect, I'm just going to say it this way, will be found out to not be the elect because they're going to get all bent out of shape by not being able to have what they want. They're going to be discomforted by what they have to eat or having to miss meals. And they're going to expose themselves as not being of the elect. But the elect, regardless how minimal or how untasty the food will be happy to eat, whether it be locusts or whatever the Lord decides for us, okay, to feed us in that day. Jake may have to roast up some locusts, man, and throw some seasoning on some locusts, throw some soy sauce. I don't know. I'm just saying, throw something on there to get some flavor out of it, just to have something to eat. Okay. Well, we're people of the world, the 2/3 of Jake, that's going to be the deal breaker. All right. It says, you did all this so that the idolaters, when they were hungry, would be unable to eat because of the disgusting creatures sent to them. Your people, however, suffered hunger only a short while, and then they ate the finest food. And this is what will happen to the elect. We'll have to endure. Some people will be weeded out, and then they'll be able to eat. It was necessary for the oppressors to suffer relentless need, while your people saw how their enemies were being tormented. Okay, and the believers we're gonna see this again. Okay, and in the dream I had this morning, we were pretty much in the same house. Now I can't say it was everybody, because when the brother that was shining his light upon the camp so we can teach camp longer, early in the day before I hopped into a white convertible, whatever, to speed around the city or whatever and see all that was going on there. Before the sun had went down, when I got back to the park, I hopped out the car with the convertible and snuck over to the park to where we were supposed to meet at the brother's house. When we got there, the brother showed up in a tow truck with his car on the tow. I guess his battery had died or whatever, but it was only three brothers in the tow truck with him. Okay, and I don't recall if everybody else showed up or not. It just felt like when we were sitting there, everybody was there and all their families. But that was, dreams do that. Dreams jump around and have subtle meanings and take out stuff that's not important. But anyway, it says, when terrible fierce snakes attacked your people, we're killing them with their poison. Yeah, that was also in the wilderness. Now, let's go back to the other chapter, which I might as well just go straight to the 17th verse, chapter. Yeah, I'll read the 17th verse in the GNT. Okay. Which brings us back to the dreams, right? Wisdom of Solomon 17. Oh Lord, your acts of judgment are marvelous and hard to explain. Because in a plague like darkness, and they were still running water. There was just no electricity, but they were still running water in this dream. The first dream I don't recall, the full conditions. I just remember how dark it was outside. It was dark in the house, but how people were just moving around. That's why I said cities and houses will be overwhelmed, because it was so dark outside. Okay, and there was only a couple street lights on that you can barely see, and they were like few and far in between. Okay, and it wasn't very bright either, you know. But it says marvelous and hard to explain. That is why people who had not been taught about them went astray. And this is what's going on in this time. When we had that, like a camp in the park, where when we were talking and people started to gather around in the dream I had this morning. Hey, that's when people were like, man, that's not true. People that were I'm an Israelite from such and such, from this group or that group, and we were talking about breakdowns and what was going to happen. And people were asking questions. They didn't have the breakdown, and we were there to give them certain breakdowns so they could understand the mass. And some people walked off in disbelief. Some people were frustrated, wanted to argue. I remember a brother saying, "Hey, bro, get from under my house with all that, man. Go on down go back to your yard and see who follow you over there. Y'all go do what y'all gonna do. The people that believe that, go ahead over there." You know, and it wasn't like we just had food, because everybody was cooking up food. You know, and the brother was also here on the grill cooking the food as well. You know, as this conversation was going on, you know, it was pretty much a camp with all the people that surrounded us, that was at the park or in that neighborhood. You know, that surrounded us to get answers. But the YNs of the city, they were all in one big group wandering the city, just terrorizing. No, it was crazy. It was like from 10 to 20 or so. When I was driving around, I noticed that. Anyway, it says, when lawless people imagined, people that don't believe, that didn't repent, imagined that they had your holy nation in their power. Excuse me, that's talking about the people in power. And they themselves imprisoned in a long night of darkness. And so all of this was going on with everybody. But it's explaining what happened to ancient Egypt. I'm trying to correlate it into how I saw it in these dreams. Okay? It says, they were themselves imprisoned in a long night of darkness. They lay in their own houses, shut off from eternal care. Okay, they didn't have the eternal care that the belief of the elect would have. And this is how I seen it. In the first dream in October, we were safe in the house. It wasn't bright in there, but our eyes had adjusted to the darkness, and there were a couple candles maybe. I don't even think there were any candles, but we shut down at a certain time. We were in there sitting around, just lowly talking, you know, over things. We were safely locked in the house, and I could just feel people getting closer and closer, shadows of that street light hitting off the windows. And so I'll get up and check and see, and that's when that one character was right up on the house, you know, trying to like casing the house. And I was trying to decide if I should go out to deter him off, or would that would, you know, make people want to be invited in, you know. And so that was that. But in the dream now, it's a similar thing. Okay, that I had this morning. It's a similar thing. There was low light and we were talking, but going forward with that, the brother had a few candles in his house, and I figured we would, you know, bunker in or whatever. What they say. I forgot. Bug out or bunker in or bunker. Like we don't have an underground bunker, but you basically bunker in the house. You lock the house up best you can. You just stand there as long as you can, and whatever you got stored up. Okay, until the Spirit moves us to do the next thing. But the people didn't have that. Okay, and I was in the dream this morning. And say, they thought that their sins had been secret and unnoticed, shielded from view by a dark curtain of forgetfulness, but now they were horribly afraid, confused, and terrified by ghostly forms. And when it got dark like that, that's what I knew was going to happen. We were talking about that in the park, in the dream this morning. Okay? That the city's about to be out of control. You people go lock up your houses and be safe and stay stable-minded. And we were trying to explain to those that were waking up, and there was still a lot of people that stuck around after the different naysayers and disbelievers. We were breaking down their dreams and whatever else. After all that, this is what was happening. Okay, but we were telling them this was about to be a time of darkness like ancient Egypt. Okay, not even the dark corners where they could protect them from fear. You know, the fear was taking people over. Okay, and they were surrounded by horrible noises. Grim ghosts of gloomy faces appeared before their eyes. They were tormented, man. No fire had the power to give them light. Candles wasn't enough, man, to give them peace, or even a fireplace if it was lit. And the brilliant stars could do nothing to relieve their deathly darkness. Okay, and it felt like there was going to be that same type of situation coming. Now, verse 7: the illusion produced by their magic tricks will put to shame and all the wisdom. Okay, that's so that's the point, to keep this concise. All right, this is went longer than the Spirit just had me going longer, but this showed that in Wisdom of Solomon. Okay, just showing you how crazy it was in that time of darkness that people start bugging out because of the apparitions. I'm looking for it to say the word in here. I'll use this one, verse 4 of 3 and 4. For while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions. So this happened in ancient Egypt to the Egyptians. Well, guess what? 2/3 of our people are likened unto the heathen or the Egyptians in this new Sodom and Egypt again situation. Okay, and troubled with strange apparitions. So they saw things that wasn't there, and it was bugging out from fear. Because after one day, it's like, okay, my body's ready for the sun to come up. The sun don't come up, then you're like, oh no. Well, this darkness that we were going through in this dream, it was the beginning of it, and we didn't know how long it was going to last. And it felt like every time the sun started to go down, people started bugging out more and more. You could hear all types of crazy things, women screaming from what did it use? From ravishing. Okay, all types of crazy stuff was going on, man. People getting their houses ran through. You might catch a gunshot or two every once in a while. Okay, which as time will go on, gunshots are going to get less and less. Okay, so on and so forth. So I'll read verse 4 also, which I read in the G&T. This is back in the KJV. For neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear. Just because you're in the house don't mean you're not going to be afraid. But noises of waters falling down surrounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances, angels and death angels and spirits and, man, ghostly faces, as it says. Man, people going to be scared, man, and they're not going to have the comfort and the stability and the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. It was dope about the the dream this morning was we edified a lot of the people in that neighborhood right there. Now, I don't know if that would happen to be representative of the city or what, but that's what it felt like. But, some people that believed, it was majority believed, and some walked off, which we knew that was just the people in the park. Everybody else in the city, who knows what they were happening, what they were going through. All right. So I got like one more precept. 2nd Ezra 15. Yeah, man. Got to start up. Matter of fact, I'm going to start up at the top. I'm going to just try to read through it. 2nd Ezra 15 and 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, in which that's what happened in the dream, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. And we prophesy unto you that there is a time of darkness coming again. Okay? It isn't so greatly highlighted in the scriptures for us not to be able to understand it for the time to come, for prophetic time. Okay? The things that are written aforetime are written for our learning of when? For the future, to build our faith and have our comfort for the times to come. Okay? And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not and we knew that there was a sweep in the dream this morning. The police were sweeping like martial law, coming through looking for certain groups and certain individuals. Okay? And when they came up to us, they kind of just let us go. They searched us like everybody else, and they kept moving. All right? And police were on foot, and there were cars and stuff surrounding too. And we didn't run. We just stayed. With everybody else in the park, nobody really ran. But it continues to say, let not the incredulity, disbelief of them trouble thee that speak against thee. And that happened in that council type camp that we were having at the brother's backyard in the park. It says, and all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So what's going to happen? It's going to be tormented because they didn't repent. Here it gets to the good part. It says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And this is what we were talking about was coming. And as darkness hits a city, like if Canada cuts power in certain cities or even the whole country loses power, hey, man, it's going to be tough. How people are going to operate in these certain places. Okay, it says, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and people's minds go straight to negativity. People's minds go right to perversion. People's minds go right to assault, okay, to smiting, to killing. This is just what happens, man. Theft, robbery. Okay, this is the things. It's going to be the purge. Okay, that's another something that we like to bring into to focus for people to see. When you watch these purge movies, this is how it is. And if you remember that original Purge movie, which I should watch it again if I can find it on the internet somewhere, the house was pretty much dark when the Purge went on. They didn't have a lot of, it was dimly lit through the movie. Okay, the houses wasn't just up and thriving like that unless they were purging. Okay, it says, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, Yahweh, in the name of the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. And so the innocent, the righteous, the elect will be preserved. We're going to go through perils, but we're going to be preserved through the perils. Okay? Verse 10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. The majority of the people in the city, which it felt like when I was in the cars riding in the dream this morning, the white convertible, everybody was just all out in chaos and confusion. Okay, and that's what the dream was about. It was people's understanding was dim, confused. There was lack of light. Well, there's a time of darkness, of physical darkness that's coming, and a time of spiritual darkness as well. And that's contrary to, it's funny, it's another something. But anyway, ties right into that. Okay, the spirit, is doing something. Anyway, I'm just seeing how there's another video I got to redo about being able to see Ra'ah. And it's basically the ability to see. Not everybody has that ability to see the prophecies. Okay, but I'm going to try to redo it and upload it here shortly while the Spirit is on me. But this dream tied right into it. Now it makes more sense because I've damn near did the video. This will be almost the third time. Okay, which I'll try to separate it, but if you see it, it'll still tie in to the other video. Anyway, it says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. This new Egypt again, Sodom and Egypt, okay? But I will bring them with the mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. And one of the plagues, as I read, was a plague of darkness. Okay? This place is going to hit with plagues also. And we're seeing famine. We're seeing pestilence. We're seeing the different plagues of the end prophecies, which were different, but we're seeing them play out in this time now. We've been warning you how long until this stuff comes to pass. And once it begins to truly come to pass and we're in Jacob's trouble in the day of the Lord, the prophets won't be out to speak this to you no more. Okay? We're not going to be out there. You might catch us, and like I remember in the dream, the owner of the house, the brother that owned the house that we was at, he was like, hey man, I'm not going to be here no more. Y'all going to come here looking for me, and I'm not going to be here. We're not going to be here at this house. This is probably the last time y'all going to see us around here. And that's the sentiment, like when the scriptures say that our tongue shall cleave to the roof of our mouths, and we won't be able to speak the prophecies unto you. Hey, man, that's unto you. You should have got it when the doors of mercy were open. Now that there's a famine in the land, not of bread, but a famine of hearing the word of the Lord. Okay, to roughly paraphrase it, it says, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all of the land thereof. Okay, and so the plagues are coming, man. One of the plagues is darkness. And we know if an EMP or they cut power or whatever the case happens to a place like this, which this video's on, I was going to do the EMP video, because I think I seen one a brother posted earlier this week, and the Spirit just wasn't on me to do it. You know, I pulled up a few precepts, but it wasn't on me to do it. And then now I can't find the article, which I didn't look, and this came up. The Canadian situation came up more prevalently, because the other one was a video of somebody, I think it was a Simpsons video actually, saying what would happen if there was an EMP. Okay, so if you've seen that video, cool, put it in the link in the chat or whatever, in the chat in the description, in the comments, and then people can kind of see what will happen. I'll try to catch it and maybe just post it so you can watch it for yourself. But this is stuff that's going on in the earth, man. Okay, and this dream was heavy. So I'm gonna close it there. Lord willing, is edifying. The time of darkness is coming, man. Okay, time of chaos is coming, and people won't understand. There won't be light. There's so many situations going on, man. So Lord willing, is edifying. Giving all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Bashim Chakwadas, into the next one. Shalom.